in the thousands to see the boys become champions. Oh, 67, and then he's a Westman. The first game in the thousands to see the boys become champions. Celtic way, wait for the ball from side to side, and until they try to hide, the wait for the ball from front to back, attack, 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 67, and then he's a Westman, the fighting in the thousand.
Good evening everybody, welcome to Celtic Rumours TV, episode number 217 of the Bawz and Bovril podcast, with myself Mark. Tonight it's just me and my wee angry Irishman that's here.
Yeah, good evening. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. See, but just before we go into the chat, let us know if my volume's alright. Tell us
it's perfect, Mark. I can hear it. It's perfect now.
Oh, is it alright now? Right, okay.
Yep.
Right, as I said, this is a podcast for our forum that you can find www.celticrumours.co.uk. The link to everything, the forum, the Discord and everything's in the description box below. I finished up last week talking about the start of the annual Christmas collection. I was actually, I'm absolutely taken aback with this turn, so I was a week late doing it, starting it. I usually start at the beginning of November. I only started it yesterday afternoon, but I read it at £500.
That's amazing.
Aye, really. I mean, I'm not saying we only collected £1,075 last year, but we've made half of that already, and we've only been gone for 1 day. So everybody that's donated to us, thanks ever so much. It's really, really appreciate it. If anybody can afford to do anything, the link's in the description box below. And if you can't afford to do anything, don't worry your backside about it. It's not that type of channel. It's just something we try to do to help the local food bank where I stay in Hamilton. We'll do some shout-outs, a quick few shout-outs to some of the lads for the forum and that. Paul, Veronica no keeping too well, so hope she gets better soon. Mad Dog McGinn, old Tim Alloy, JFP. I don't know if JFP maybe get home for the gaming time, he might pop on, I don't know. Mikey, John United Ireland, Big Jabba, Steph, Deef Kev, Welshie, Malika, TB for the Discord as well. Who have we got on the chat? Bobby will be on first as usual. Bobby, Patrick McLaughlin, nice to see you. G-Doc, thanks very much for coming in, mate. Nice to see you. Grot Bags. Gaddafi, nice to see you, mate. Kenny Arthur, nice to see you again, mate. Kenny. Henky, that's you, FTR, I know you know. Pulse Boy, thanks very much, mate, for coming in. Nice to see you. Super nice to see you too, bud. Well, we'll start off with the happy stuff then, Ter. We'll start off with the happy stuff that, do you know what I mean? I win the day. I mean, a decent performance, do you know what I mean? I thought that for the teams that we put out there, and after what happened midweek and stuff like that, we'll go into the midweek game, but we'll stick to the days they know. But I'm delighted with that. I predicted a 4-0 to Bobby. Evan, you nice to see you, mate. Thanks very much for coming in, bud.
Yeah, no, excellent, Mark. I mean, very professional. A lot of the players that again came in today, you know, the lad Pussy at right back had a very steady game. Looks good on the ball. Okay, his first pass wasn't to an intended person, but I thought he had a solid enough game. Defended well. Looks comfortable on the ball. Again, raises questions as to why it takes so long for the guy to get a game under the management, not the current one, but the previous one. Obviously, Sagachi at left back, to me, looks a really, really good player. He certainly looks, for me, he'd be the number one left back. Obviously, he's injured now again, like seemingly every second player. But I like the way that Celtic moved the ball today, Mark. I think they moved it a lot quicker, a lot less touches on the ball. And I think when Celtic play that way, they look a much better team, and they find more space. I mean, like say Hitate, I thought McGowan had a good game in midfield. McGregor, they just found a lot of space there. And I just, I thought overall, they played very well. It was very professional. On top of that, you have possibly one of the worst misses you'd ever see in your life by Maeda, and then he actually manages to score a lovely finish. I think it's the fact that he has to think about one and he doesn't have to think about the other. That's probably his problem, aligned with some of the worst decisions you'd ever see in your life in a football match by referees again today. But very professional, 3 points in the bag, hearts through, so the gap has gone closer yet again. And, clean sheet. So all in all, I thought they played very well. And again, the two centre halves, I thought Trusty again had an excellent game. I thought Scales had an excellent game. So all around, yeah, very, very pleased.
I think Trusty's a better player, a better defender than Carter Vickers.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that, Mark. But sometimes people get tarnished with certain brushes and they can't get rid of it. A little bit like Liam Scales. Starfelt was the same. It was always Carter Vickers bailing out Starfelt. It was never the other way around. It was like Greg Taylor was always a whipping boy. There's just certain individuals that they get tagged with it early and they can't get rid of it. And Trusty and Scales have both been in that bracket where they can make a mistake and it seems to be magnified tenfold, whereas a Carter Vickers can make a mistake and it's like, he doesn't normally make those mistakes. Well, you should watch it a bit more. He does.
Mm-hmm. Obviously Rodgers want to like ball playing centre backs and stuff like that, and Trusty's maybe no the best at that. But as I've said on numerous occasions on podcasts and that terms, even talking to you, I like my defenders to defend. I want them to be able to defend first and foremost. If you can clear your lines and put a bit of aerial presence into your defensive unit, that's my main concern for a defender. Do you know what I mean? I don't want my defenders.
The clue's in the name, like a defender.
Exactly.
It's like saying a goalkeeper. He's great with his feet, but he's a terrible shot stopper. Well, he's allowed to use his hands, so I'd rather him be a really, really good shot stopper and not worry about how good he is with his feet. If he was that good, he wouldn't be a goalie. He'd probably be an outfield player. I think there's too much emphasis given on certain aspects that they need to be this, they need to be that, they need to be this. Like Martin O'Neill would have always had as you would have said, your big rough, hairy-arsed centre half, like a Bobo Balda, and basically goes, you just defend, and when you get the ball, you pass it 5 yards. That's all I want you to do. Just defend and pass it 5 yards. I don't want you to do anything else. So, this is fine saying you want a Paolo Maldini or a Baresi centre back, but there aren't too many of them around. You know what I mean?
No many of them's coming to play in Glasgow either, do you know what I mean?
No, they're not. But all teams seem to think that they can play out from the back and they need this passing and all this stuff. I don't know. I think if you do the basics right in whatever sports you're playing, but in soccer, football, if you do the basics right, if you defend well and you don't concede goals, you're likely to win games. The defenders defend well, the midfielders play well. It's like saying I have a striker. He makes great runs. He's great at crossing. He's a terrible finisher though. Well, then is he not a good striker, is he?
Even getting down, we were talking about it on the live chat today, and it's like, is these getting back to like the injuries with these players? Is this getting back to training under Rodgers?
100%, Mark. I said it in the live chat today.
You know a bit more about that terms for the rugby side of things and that. Do you know what I mean? Keeping players' bodies in peak condition. So I'll let you go speak about it.
Well, Mark, it is 100%. I mean, the problem is they've gone from playing a slow, staggered pedestrian football to all of a sudden you're asking guys who have to come in out of the cold, who haven't been given games, who haven't trained properly, who haven't trained under intensity, and all of a sudden you're asking them to go up 2 or 3 levels the way Rodgers had them played. And the players across the board were not fit, and I know we're going to go into it later on, but you could clearly see that the other night in the European match. You could clearly see that. And what happens is, any of the lads who on the live chat who play a bit of ball, whether it's rugby or soccer or whatever it is. If you're not fit, when you're not fit, you get tired. And when you get tired, that's when your injuries come. Your body you're just not fit enough to keep going. And that's where injuries come and tears come. Because the Celtic team, the Celtic bodies are having to perform at a high level. And it's like asking the young lad to go from the Celtic B team straight up into the first team. And that's what happened young Osmond. He was running around Celtic Park or Lennox Town by himself. You can't be match fit. You can be fit, but not match fit, if that makes any sense. Match fit intensity where you're physically making contact. There's physical contact. You're hitting fellas. You're getting up. You're chasing. You're turning. You're twisting. It's completely different to training, and their bodies aren't used to it. And I remember when the Postecoglou came in, that was one of the first things he said. He said, the players they're going to get injured, he says, because they're not going to be used to what I'm asking them to do. And this is the same thing. The intensity that Martin O'Neill plays at, yes, I know it might be a bit more direct and a bit more whatever, but the ball is generally moved faster. He's asking the players to run more. He's asking them to do more than what they would do under Rodgers, which was very pedestrian. And their bodies just can't take it. I mean, that must be at least 5 or 6 individuals that have now gone with a hamstring injury.
Mm-hmm. That's a good way to look at it. Was it even how, like, the way we were playing the game under Rodgers, and now, as you're saying there, terms the step ups just
their bodies aren't able for it.
Whereas the high intensity, I mean, we keep saying it and looking back. I mean, we're not going to harp on about it and that, but had Rodgers checked out all along?
Oh, I think he had checked out a long time ago. When you look at this with the players and like the fitness stuff, injuries and things like that, was it? And it's John Kennedy. Is this? I mean, this is. I'm only speculating about this, right? I'm not saying I've heard anything, but it's the way that they've all left and stuff like that. Has there been something happened behind the scenes that we've known, and especially with Dermot Desmond's statement? Do you get what I mean? It's just because if Rodgers doesn't take, well, it doesn't look as if he's got to do anything about it now, but it just makes it even worse. Has there been such a breakdown and a fall down in communications that just to fall for sometime between the Bayern Munich game, which everybody seems to pinpoint as downfall of Rodgers' regime or whatever you want to call it, to Rodgers leaving? Was it just a case of Rodgers, Kennedy, the lot of them were just plodding through the motions? Oh, I think 100%, Mark. And it's like that. It's like the famous saying is, if it walks like a duck, sounds like a duck, and looks like a duck, it's probably a duck. And that's what I think has happened here. I think basically a lot of the powers to be, as in the management team, have just, there's obviously been a big falling out, and they've just kind of went off. You know, because the way these are professional athletes, meant to be professional athletes. And they're like guys who are coming into a game who've been on the couch for the last 2 weeks. Some of them, they continuously looked tired in games. They looked tired in the stage against Rangers in the derby match. In the second half, in particular, they looked like they were getting very leggy. And again, this is down to that they're doing stuff that that they haven't been asked to do before, and their bodies haven't been asked to do this. Now, they should have been asked to do it, and they should have been up to speed, and they should have been up to the intensity. But clearly, the manager and the coaching team have, I don't want to say down tools, but there's obviously, as you said, stuff that's gone behind the scenes that not people know. That you hear stories that Desmond wasn't talking, and Lawwell may not have been talking to Rodgers. Rodgers wasn't talking to Tisdale. Tisdale wasn't talking to Rodgers. If they're not talking to him, then they're probably not talking to Kennedy. Kennedy's probably not talking to them. The fitness team are probably only with, like, you know, it sounds like a schoolyard where this group aren't talking to that group, and that group aren't talking to that group, and that group aren't talking to that group. There's no way that there was going to be, there was only one team that was going to suffer, and that was the first team. You know, they were going to suffer because Rodgers wasn't going to get what he wanted. i.e. because he's not talking to Desmond. Desmond doesn't agree with him and doesn't think he's up to the job. Tisdale's having a falling out with him. He's having a falling out with them. At the end of the day, Rodgers is just going through the motions and probably thinking, well, I'm in Scotland. With the greatest respects, I'll probably manage to get thereabouts, winning it regardless, or one thing or another, till it got to the stage where it was basically unfixable and they had to go. But for John Kennedy to go and the other people that have gone with him as well, and nothing's come back out of it, you'd have to think that they were just like, well, so it is what it is.
I mean, as I said, I said that to her. I mean, when I did say I don't stake my reputation for what that's worth, you know what I mean? But I'd heard that Rodgers had met with Wolves. I spoke to the guys for Wolves like a few weeks before that. But Wolves, it's not. Do you get what I mean? See, feel that you've been scamming. I mean, you could see the point of Leicester. At the time when he went to Leicester, they were no longer won the league. They were still back. They were still putting the money into the club to back the like the football department, because that's where that went wrong with Leicester with him. But it just seems it was as if the Celtic could get wind of them, the Rodgers and Kennedy, and the other guy that left, that they were plotting maybe a move. And
it sounds like there's something. It sounds like there was something going on in the background, so to speak.
Aye, but then, I mean, it's a case of I don't think that Wolves would be the ideal fit for a guy like Rodgers.
Not his ego, no. Not his ego.
No. So
like if he got relegated with Wolves, Mark, and listen, by all signs, whoever goes in there is in trouble, I think, anyway. But if he got relegated with Wolves, you know, there's another kind of tarnish on his career. You know, he's in a sense gone from Celtic twice. You know, and then he could get relegated if he goes with Wolves. You know, I think he's a cute enough guy in that sense that he'd be kind of going, well, look, I'll bide my time. But it wouldn't surprise me that if he does come back, that he does come back and it's Kennedy's back with him and the people that have left with Celtic are all back with him.
Dougie, evening, Dougie, that's a new name. Thanks for joining us, mate. I hope John Kennedy gets a manager's job. We've spoken about that for years on here, haven't we, Terms?
Yeah.
I mean, he's been about enough managers to realise himself and know now if he's got the cojones to go and take on the main man's job at a club. And
but did he not get, correct me if I'm wrong now, but did he not get offered or allegedly offered a Hibs job?
And the Dundee United job at one time meant to be, I know, I'm sure, Terms.
Yeah. But certainly I thought he'd got offered the Hibs job and he obviously turned it down. This was during one of the situations where there was a bit of turmoil at Celtic, which is no surprise. There seems to always be. But there was certainly rumours that he had been linked or offered the Hibs job. But again, that's only obviously hearsay. Do you know what I mean? But
some guys are better coaches, John, than their managers. I mean, look how everybody used to go on about Steve Clarke. Mind when he was a coach with Chelsea and stuff like that, and he was at Liverpool and that too, went in. He was like, some coaches, some this and that. And then when we saw him actually being a manager, you're like, what the hell's the big deal with this guy? I mean, I've got a great thing with Terms, right? See, if you're a manager, right, it's like, if you start off and you're managing Accies, right, you're struggling every week, every day to win, keep the club afloat. Do you know what I mean? You're doing dirty.
Yeah.
Then you move up a level and you maybe end up at, say, like Kilmarnock. Do you know what I mean? Then you maybe move up, end up at the Huns, right? And then a bigger team will come in for you. And see, once you get to that bigger team, over the years you realise you get to a stage where you're like that, right? I've got the best, better players that I can buy. So if you're getting up the league ladders with the teams, you should be getting better players and becoming more better at football. But it was like, see, when Davy Moyes got the Man United job, I expected Davy Moyes to change his approach to the game. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I know what you mean. The expectation is different.
When you get at Man United, you can afford some of the best players in the world. So you're looking at, I want to be going for defensive football, trying to scrape by and keep Everton in a European spot or keep Everton in a cup. But right now, I'm going to go and I'm going to show how good a manager I am and have my team playing good football because I can afford better players. Steve Clarke never done anything like that.
But sometimes as well, though, Mark, is like, say, the John Kennedy side of things for me as well, is if you're a first team coach for so long and you're in a sense you're buddies, you're pals with the players. A manager is a kind of a separate entity to the players. A lot of cases, managers aren't hands-on with the players. They leave the coaching staff, the assistant coach, the fitness coaches, all the strength and conditioning guys. They look after the training, they look after all that. And it's the manager and the assistant manager kind of liaise with each other. But all of a sudden, if you're assistant manager or coach for years and years and years, and then you go to be manager, you now have to cut yourself off from these people that you used to be quite friendly with. And all of a sudden, how do you go to such a guy that you've been pals with for the last 4 years and go, no, I don't think you're any good anymore, or you don't think this, or don't think that. You know, these could be guys that, when you're assistant managers or coaches, that you go out for dinner with them and their wives, or you do all this. So I think there's a huge difference between a good coach and being a manager. I think, I think look at Ferguson, look at Wenger, look at Mourinho. Look at, you can
Mark Lanier.
Mark Lanier was a brilliant manager. You know what I mean? When he was at Celtic, when he was at Leicester, but he had John Robertson and
that's what I'm saying. He was even though it's like obviously Maloney's a tactic guy kind of thing, and he'll have some input. But we go back, Alex Ferguson. We spoke about it, how he changed his assistants every few seasons, every few years to freshen things up, and his coaches and stuff like that. As you said there, Terence, it's a totally different ball game from being a coach to being a manager. Look at Ferguson again. Not to be going into the United one, but Ferguson had no problem getting rid of Brian Robson. He had no problem getting rid of Paul Ince. He had no problem getting rid of Cantona. He had no problem getting rid of Keane. Like I'm saying, if you're a coach with these guys, like when Kennedy was a coach with Celtic and he was with McGregor and Brown and all these guys coming up along, if he all of a sudden goes because Celtic manager, and now he's got to turn around and say, well, look, I don't think you're good enough anymore, or I don't think this. I think it's a huge difference. I really do, and it's not everyone could do that. I certainly don't think John Kennedy could do it, but that's only personal opinion. Because even the time he did manage the game for 3 games or whatever it was, that time when Celtic were in absolute horrors. It was just the same old.
It was the same thing. He didn't try even to put his own stamp on it for 3 or 4 games. Look, I know I might be slightly critical saying that, but there was no difference. It was monkey see, monkey do. You know what I mean? It was the same thing, like.
Aye, it's a weird one altogether. But because I mean, even get back to we'll move on to now, but even getting back to us, for Rodgers, for the day he came back, he said he would be here to the end of the season. He said that a few weeks before, and then the next time he's away again. I think there definitely has been some major kind of thought behind the scenes, and it's not for me.
Will Mark as well? He hasn't come out and said anything. So, like, what has been said publicly by the powers to be at Celtic and the main man at Celtic, whether people agree with it or disagree with it, is one thing or another. The manager Rodgers hasn't come back with anything.
No, so that's the fact. I mean, that's as we know them, the facts. Whether you want to go away them or blame the board for it or whatever, but okay, it was definitely. I mean, we all agreed on it. It was definitely time for things to get freshened up. And again, we'll move on to the European game. Apart from that, but we've seen that there has been a lot of improvement in the team. But going back to the Michelin game, it was a bit of a disaster. Yeah.
Well, it was very poor, but like I know there was lads on forums and stuff, and they were chatting. And look, I respect everyone's opinion. I'm not saying anyone's wrong or anything like that. And what people were saying, their front 3 guys are the three of the fastest guys in the league, or what Europa League or whatever, or something like that, and that's fine. But it's not an athletics club; it's a soccer team. Like, are you trying to tell me that when Celtics had Maeda, Kun, and Kyogo up front, they're 3 lightning boys. We didn't play anything like that. Do you know? Like, I mean, this team is a team that, correct me if I'm wrong, but 4 years ago, Postecoglou played them in the qualifier, the Champions League qualifier. Dane Murray was actually playing that same night, and they lost, I think. And it was a huge transformation from that team to this team. Do you know, a massive transformation from that Michelin team to this team in 4 years. And they're highest paid player, Mark, I'm sure you probably know this yourself already, is 35,000. And their next player after that is 16,000.
Aye.
And it goes way down. There's players on 3 or 4 grand a week there. And their highest transfer, I think, is 5 million. So,
But that's what I say. Terms right. The people that are on the chat there are talking about who could the next manager be. Oh, Nutson and all that. Right. Get Nutson or is it Highland, the boy, Highland, the boy for Bruges or whatever it is. But it's all right going and getting these managers, but
you need to get the people with them.
Aye, that's what I say. See if you look into Michelin, right? Even you look into Bodo Glimt, it's no. I mean, right? Not saying it's doing well at Bodo Glimt, but it's they've got the sporting director. I'd read an interview with him the other day. I put it up. I think Big Cabs he read it as well, and he's talking about it. And it's these people Celtic needed. It doesn't matter who's in Celtic's dugout. It's the people behind the scenes. We need a good manager in. But there's no point in just bringing in Nutson because he's doing well at Bodo Glimt. He's doing well at Bodo Glimt, and a lot of that is down to what's been on the building up Bodo Glimt over the years without him and behind the scenes. Do you know what I mean? It's like people have said, "Oh, is it Club Bruges? They've got a team that play in the second division in Belgium or something like that." There's no way that the Bruges managers keep an eye on their players. Do you know what I mean? They did the 19-year-olds in their Champions League squad and that. But that's not down to the manager. That's down to the club. And that's what we need to get right.
But what Celtic should try and do, if logic dictates this, but if logic sometimes goes out the window when it's for Celtic, they should try and go and see what Club Bruges, Michelin and Bodo Glimt template are. What's their template? What do they use? What's something that they use? And what way do they, how do they approach this transfer thing? Not, as you said, not the manager, but behind the scenes. Who's the guy that what way did they do that? Because if you looked through that Michelin team, there was players from all over the place. And none of the players in that team or squad were outside Celtic's access, if that's another way of putting it. Celtic could have got all of those players in a sense that they were in Celtic's budget.
Aye, I can go to say just to throw a spanner in the works there, turn Brexit cuts off, puts a lot of roadworks in the roadies when you're trying to bring in foreign players. You know what I mean?
But I'm saying,
quality wise in that terms,
yeah.
Aye, 100%.
But they're all marked. 5 million was the highest paid player. What I'm trying to say is all the players that were there between the transfer that they paid for and the wage that they're on, they're all attainable by Celtic. And that's for me, yes, getting in a good manager is important, but getting in above the manager, as in the people behind the scenes, whether it's the analytical side of things, whether it's the whatever way Bodo Glimt do it, whatever way Club Bruges do it, whatever way Michelin do it, have done it in the last number of years. They are the people that Celtic needs to be trying to go to get, or certainly trying to get the information from them. And ask can Celtic come over, send their guys over and say, look, how do you do this? How do you do this so well? And try and learn from it and go. And if there is a set system that they do, or I know this Moneyball thing, I understand, Mark, I know what you're talking about, but if there's an analytical thing that they do, and they say, well, we need a right back, and we need a right back to do A, B, C, D, and these are the top 8 right backs in Europe that on the stats that we have, whether it's on that FIFA football thing they used to say, Matt, they used to scout players literally on that. But whatever the algorithms are.
Still data.
Yeah, but whatever the algorithm is for it, if they're able to say, well, this is how we do it, we get these same players, we look at the different ones, we look at the prices, and we say, well, these 3 or 4 are ideally the kind of guys we want, and then we go for 1 or 2 of them. I know that sounds simplistic or whatever, but it needs to be, because the problem is these are teams that are buying players for 300,000, 1.5 million, and majority of them are hits. Celtic are buying the same 1.5 million or 300,000 player and the majority of them are flops. Do you know, that's why
but,
it's a,
but even at that, Paul, I mean, a lot of the players are getting like that. Do you know what I mean? Stop changing your name, Henky. That's Henky for the Discord. But he's saying Celtic fans don't want any signings. Do you know what I mean? It's right away terms. It's like, I mean, going back to the board, right? We'll look at this scenario terms. Celtic would went out and spent £10 million on 6 players. See, look what you're talking about there.
yeah.
In the summer, right? They're going to maybe take a few months to settle in and get up to speed, but you know what the Celtic support's like terms. They're not going to wait. They're not going to wait. Look at Barlick Wisher. Do you know what I mean? He's wrote off right. I don't know. I've not seen enough of him. We scouted the guy for about 18 months and then signed him, and he's not showed much. But that's it. He's wrote off. And I've seen people get up on that, going on about Nagy. We only paid 1.8 million for him and stuff like that. And that's what we need. That's what the fans need to get that out their head. You don't judge a player with it. See if you're going to see what you're talking about. If you're going to get doing the kind of serious, heavy analytical kind of side of thing. I mean, Celtic do use analytics. Every club in the world does.
Yeah.
Right. But if you're going to get doing this kind of route and all that, the fans will need to show a bit of patience and not just say, for fuck's sake, we won't sign 800,000. Can't be just signing him because he's price. It's not to do with his price. If judge the player as you see him, do you know what I mean?
And you're right, and I get that. And the flip side of that I would say, and it's a very fair point. The flip side I would say is, if they looked at Sarachi, he was a loan transfer, and if they looked at Osman was like free, if I'm not mistaken, or he was very low from Fulham, and most people would have said, "Why are we signing this guy?" He's, you know, but as soon as he's come into play, you know, you've seen what he has to offer. You know, Sarachi did the exact same. He's looked very good when he's come in. I get 100% what you're saying, Mark, and you're right, because most of us Celtic fans will say, well, we signed X amount of players and we only spent 3 or 4 million. But what I will say on that to counter it is, if we spent 5 million or 6 million and it was on 6 players, 7 players, 8 players, whatever it would be, I don't think there'd be as much criticism of the fact that we only spent that amount of money on them if the players that we got in were produced the goods and were able, you know, that's what I would say.
They're big Simpson pussy the day, Paul. Right?
Yeah.
He comes on, right, he starts the game, his first start playing it right back. I don't know if the lad's played it right back a phone in his life, right?
Yeah.
But he just said his first pass, he misplaced it. It went to a Kilmarnock fan.
I saw that.
You know that people are sitting there doing it even inside the stadium. Oh, he's shite. Just that's it. One pass will be. Do you know what I mean? That's what.
100%.
You need people.
100%.
You need to get every signing like a chance, but. That's the thing about it, Celtic fans, and fair dues, because we're making serious money, so we should be spending serious money. But if you're getting doing this kind of looking, it's like what we moan about other projects. That's what that would be. That's the kind of thing we would throw up at them. But for me, Celtic need to sign projects, but also see what we're talking about. But like Michelin there, right there, say went out, right? If we went out and signed, say, 4 or 5 players that all came to, like, say, £10 million, but then see if we went out and signed just maybe 2 players that were like it. They were £10 million players. That would be more acceptable for me anyway. Because you're building.
That's what Michelin done.
Aye, but you're building for the future, and you're putting a couple of quality players in there for the there and now to help these young players and these project players to come on.
Oh yeah, but as I said, it's a happy medium. It's a very happy medium, Mark. But it like where the problem lies with that is, and it's a very fair point. But where the problem lies with it is, the majority of times when Celtic go and do pay the 100 or the 1.5 million or the 500,000 or whatever for the player, they're normally we never see them. We never see them. I mean, only for Martin O'Neill, we would have never seen Osman. And we probably wouldn't have seen Sarachi either.
Maybe flashes of Sarachi, but We wouldn't have seen anything he probably was. Come January, the lad would probably want to look for a move on, or at least a loan out the place if he's only spending his days running up down a park.
Yeah, and we wouldn't have seen your man that Boosie today either. You wouldn't have seen him. And Kenny probably would have been maybe have been gone as well under Rodgers. You don't know. Like, it's like when you see, I think what frustrates people, you see, Mark, as well, is when you see some of the, and this is not, anything directly at any individuals, but some of the Japanese players or some of the guys that have come in, Shinamada and one or two of the other guys, like, that's where people will get annoyed because Celtic are paying 800,000, 1.5 million for a lad from Japan or the Japanese league or whatever it is. And it's like that they're kind of saying, well, are they just doing this to keep the jersey sales up there, or are they doing this because they had 3 good strikes with Maeda, Kyogo and Hitate? But after that, the next 4, 5, 6 of them that have come in have all been, none of them have been successful. So, if people might be looking at it from that standpoint of view, whereas you need these players if you're going to be buying them, even for the 2 million or 1.5 million. They have to be making some impact. It's like that, and a lot of them haven't been making any impact, to be honest.
Dr. Strangelove, look at Ajax years ago. They set up a game model 4-3-3 pass and move football. They're still using that system today, but now supported by size. Tommy Burns went over there, looked at them, nothing, came back with ideas and nothing. Tommy Burns went there and studied Ajax and other clubs in Europe and places like that about how they were, their youth systems for like kids, do you know what I mean, for the young kids that you're bringing in. He looked at everything, and I don't think anything that ever recommended really get implemented with Celtic.
But if you looked at it, Mark, the two main managers that people would say have played the best football in Celtic over a long number of years would have been Tommy Burns, and the next person that came close to Tommy Burns' way they played was Postecoglou. In the fashion that they played. They played quick, direct passing, quick movement. I mean, the only reason Tommy Burns didn't win the league is because they had about 10 or 11 draws. They only lost one game that year, I think it was, when he was manager against Rangers. But everyone said since Tommy Burns, the only guy that came close to that level of football would have been Postecoglou. And even I think it was JFP might have said that, and that says a lot because JFP saying that.
Martin O'Neill was successful. Do you know what I mean? Crack manager for Celtic. Do you know what I mean?
But he was successful in his own style.
Aye, that's what I mean. His style wasn't the best.
But he was pragmatic, though. He was pragmatic. He knew.
And he'd Larson, he'd good players, but again, it was a kind of dead. It wasn't the usual. The Glasgow Celtic way, do you know what I mean? It wasn't
he had units, Mark. He had serious units in that team. That team was like a rugby team, the size of it. Like, they were huge men. Like, they were like, even like Mitchell and the other night. They were big boys compared to Celtic. Big boys. And that's the Celtic team under Martin O'Neill, with your Bobo Baldes and Falharins and Mialbis and Thompson and Lennon and Lambert. These Sutton, Hearts, and these boys could all use themselves, no problem. But yeah, there's a diff. But the problem is, Mark, you've said it here a million times over. If you have a template in place where you have obviously a director of football and you have all this stuff, and you say, this is the way we're going to try and play, this is the way we want to play football, A, B, C, D, and the manager's there for 2 years, and then the manager leaves and a new manager comes in, he knows this is the way we play. This is the way you play.
Let them. It's like Ajax, Ajax, but Dr. Strangelove is saying, you're getting back to what Johan Cruyff done with Ajax, and they've not changed it, they've just like modernised it every now and again. So they bring in the coaches to side and let them have a wee tweak at the team, and maybe bring up 1 or 2 players that they like themselves that could do them a job and stuff like that. But definitely this kind of thing about the Glasgow Celtic playing football the Glasgow Celtic way, it's a bit of a myth now because the club isn't implementing it. a manager leaves and we fall apart. Everything goes mental.
Well,
I mean, no other big club in the world, right? The manager leaves and things just carry on the same. They bring in a new. Look at Barcelona.
yeah, Barcelona, Real Madrid, all these teams, they play a certain way.
These big clubs, they're only the manager. Although it's a very important job, although I wouldn't even say it's that important at Real Madrid at times. Some of the appointments still, but it's like they're only one cog in the wheel. Where they'll go, but the club still goes on. Everything else stays the same. We still keep the youth system, everything in the scouting, the recruitment, and everything else still stays the same.
But even when it comes to hiring a manager,
but that's what. Let me finish the route here.
Sorry.
But see, we go and bring in Knutson, and maybe a couple of assistants or whatever. Maybe Maloney's going to be assistant. Nothing behind the scenes is changing because Knutson's coming in. Because Knutson's getting no say in how we run our youth. Knutson's getting no say in how we run our recruitment. That's nothing to do with the manager. A manager's no say. A manager at any club has no serious say in that we should be doing this. I mean, a big club. I'm not talking about smaller clubs where that's very open, but at big clubs, the managers no really get much say in what's happening with the youth players, what's happening with the B team or the reserves or whatever you want to call it. That's other people's job. All he's there today is look after that first team squad.
Mm-hmm.
And until we get to that, every time a manager leaves, we're going to bin this same shit creek. And and it's like, don't get it. Key Rangers are due. They've brought in guys that are to run things and they're sticking by them. Managers are going and they're still sticking. This is your plan, and they're just going to keep replacing the manager. They think that their plan's working and making them enough money to keep going. That's basically what they're doing.
Yeah, and that's. But as well too, Mark. What I was going to say to you there a minute ago was like, if you have a certain template in play and you always play within reason a particular way, when you're hiring a manager, you're always going to hire a manager on that basis. Like, you're not going to hire a manager if a manager's normal system is that he plays a long ball all the time. We just hypothetically, you're going to go, well, he doesn't suit.
Like Celtic bringing in somebody like Craig Levein or that, it goes totally against everything, isn't it?
Yeah, whereas you hire a manager and the manager also coming in knows, like the Real Madrid manager, the Barcelona manager, for argument's sake, coming into Real Madrid, Barcelona knows, well, we've hired you, we want you to manage the team, but this is the way we play. This is the way we play ball. You can tweak and move it around whatever way you want, but this is the way we play. And everyone knows that when they go to a Barcelona, Real Madrid, or an Ajax, for argument's sake. It doesn't matter. The Ajax manager could change 20 times, but they'll still play football the same way.
Yeah.
And it would be the same if Celtic played football a certain way, like you said, the Celtic way, and Knutsson came in and he played it that way, and then he left in 2 years' time, and someone else came in, and someone else came in, and someone else came in. It wouldn't make any difference once the template is there to play the same way. Whereas at the minute you've got Rodgers, which was barely above walking pace. O'Neill is coming, and it's much quicker and it's a bit more direct. And then
Blood, Guts and Thunder, I saw somebody calling it the other day, was what they called Martin O'Neill's type of football.
Yeah, but then you go back to, say, Postecoglou's football, which was continuous, very fast, very fluid, quick moving, quick everything. So there's 3 different types in the last 3 managers. You know, it's very hard to have continuity when it's a completely different style every time.
Yeah, David Stalker, they're saying, let whoever's going to be next manager, let him bring in his own players. To a certain extent, David, I do agree with that, right? But if the manager's only here for 2 years, we've signed these players in a 5-year contract, and the next manager comes in and shouldn't he be doing? I don't know. Maybe no.
He should have a say, of course, but not his own players. Not his own players. He should have a say. Look, most of these managers are going to be given a list of going, you need a right back. Well, here's three right backs. I assume this is the way it is, 3 or 4 right backs. Unless it's
a Dr. Joe kind of bringing in Lubo or Henrik. Do you know what I mean? Let a manager say, here, I know a player, he'll run a mock in Scotland for you and it'll only cost you £500,000.
Like,
you know what I mean?
Pasta Cog with the 3 boys.
You can't turn around. Celtic can't bring in Nutson and say, right, there you go, there, you and Tisdale, right, there you go, right, Nutson, there, £30 million to spend in the team next summer or whatever, right, and then he spends it and then 2 years later, he's away. Because the next manager might come in and say, oh, well, wait, no, I don't want them, they don't fit into my system. It should be Celtic setting the system, no the manager.
Yeah,
The
100%.
manager can tweak the system and tweak the tactics, but overall, it should be Celtic that have got the building blocks and the staff and people in place to keep calling it this playing the Celtic way. We sing the song, do you know what I mean? About how that kind of way. That should be on the club, no down to the manager. The manager shouldn't be coming in, oh, who's the next manager? All right, he's going to come in and change to this formation, he's going to come in and do this. We've not got the players to do that, that's going to cost us millions. All right, well, we're not getting him in then.
Mm-hmm.
It's can't work like that. The manager's got to come in and fit the club model as much as the club's got to fit the manager's model.
Oh, listen, 100%, Mark, but that's where I said to come back to Michelin, Bodo Glimt, Bruges, whoever it may be, these teams, they've obviously adopted a template and said, this is the way we're going to play football. This is the way we're going to approach it. Whoever comes in, this is the way it's going to be. And we have everyone above him or around him that he's required. If he wants to bring in his own assistant and 1 or 2 other staff, fine. But this is the way they do it. This is the way we're going to play football. And every manager who will come into those clubs will know that if Nuxon goes and some guy comes in to replace him in Bodo Glimt, he'll know what way the expectation is for him to play. The same with Club Bruges, the same with Michelin. And, you know, as I said, same way with Barcelona, Real Madrid, whoever it is. Until the powers to be at Celtic decide to adopt and say, well, look, as you said, we want to play the Celtic way, this is it. Otherwise, it's just going to be whatever way the manager wants to play when they come in. Is it a long ball? Is it slow? Is it fast? Is it whatever? I mean, and it's just going to keep changing.
Right, I mean, they're nuts in, right? His contract's out at the end of December, right? Looks as if he'll be leaving, whether it's to Celtic, whether it's to anywhere. Do you think, honest to God terms, do you think that Bodo Glimt's transfer targets are going to change between this very minute in time and come their next transfer window just because Nutson's leaving?
God, no, that has nothing to do with him, it's it.
You know what I mean? And they're going about, oh, he gets a percentage of transfer fees. I'm not exactly 100% sure that's true. But see, when you look at the amount of the money they've got in transfer fees, see if they're even getting 10% yet. He's at €2 million 1 year. Do you know what I mean? You're talking about €1.5 million, €1.2 million and stuff like that. So even if and he's denied it himself in interviews, I'm sure, so I'm not convinced with that. But definitely, as Barcelona, all these teams, these work on. I mean, I learned all this for Ed too. God bless him. He passed away a year ago yesterday terms, but I was a bit, give Neil Lennon £50 million to spend, do you know what I mean, before I started learning about all this stuff. And that's the basis of these clubs. The clubs they're working on transfers for, some of them are even 2 years for younger players. They're waiting and being allowed to move countries and stuff like that. The work and the depth that goes into it. So the managers come and go, and these big clubs just plod along. Nothing changes. The manager comes and goes, and we still scouting this player. We still want to sign this player, and the next manager needs to find a place in the team for him.
Yeah, but didn't we say that even about Celtic, Mark, with under Postecoglou? Like Jota and Carter Vickers weren't anything in a sense to do with him. They were already, you know, they came in on loan, and like Postecoglou was barely in the building, and they were nearly here before him, if you know what I mean. And even Starfelt was in like very quick. Jota and Carter Vickers were in on loan before I think even Postecoglou was nearly in. You know, so
the last day of the season terms, but the last day of the window. But the point is, there's no way Ange Postecoglou came into Celtic and said, "Get me that wee guy Kyogo, that Mahida guy, if you can get me him." And that Jota that plays for Benfica, the Benfica B team, and that guy for Spurs that nobody else is they're a bit worried about his heights and nobody else really wants him. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Aye.
So this is what I'm saying. You get a lot of times where managers will have any manager will come in and say, "Look, I have these two guys that I know from my previous regime. I need a left back. This guy, I really think we should try and get him." And I'm sure in a lot of cases the club will look at him and go, "How much is he? Blah 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 blah." We'll try and sanction that because to keep a harmony between the new manager and the club and the whole lot. I'm sure there's always one or two players that they mention, but the vast majority of players are already looked at by the scouting system. That's why there's a scouting system there in place in the first place. And they'll come and they'll go, "Well, we're going to sign this guy. We're going to sign this guy." You hear managers saying, "Well, I'm here to manage the team. I'm here to look after the players. I'm here to coach the players," whatever way you want to call it. They'll have a slight input in a lot of players, but they won't have. It's not like where it appears 15 years ago, 20 years ago, where the manager basically went, "Well, I'm signing him. I'm signing him. I'm signing him." On the old style football years ago.
When Martin O'Neill was here for the first time.
Yeah, he was going like, "I know Lennon, I know Thompson, I know Sutton, I know Hartson, I want them, I want them, I Guppy."
And even get back to when Rodgers first came in as well, he brought in like Scott Sinclair and that. He knew Sinclair could come up here and do a job for us.
Colo Torre came in, the likes of that, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, 100%. Whereas I think it's obviously it's moved on. There's no question a new manager will always have one or two guys that he'll say, "Look, you could get me one or two of these guys in, it would massively help me." You know what I mean? These are guys from my old club and whatever it may be.
I mean, even a guy who knows even maybe like they'll bring a bit of leadership. You can trust them in the dressing room and add something to the team.
Yeah, 100%. But they're not going to have 10 guys. They're going to have maybe 2.
Aye. And I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. But the days of a manager with full control, just like who you're signing that, they're long gone. Celtic need to move on for that, and the fans need to move on for that. I mean, I'm not talking to anybody, but need to look at. We're all sitting, we look at these clubs and say, how come Bodo Glimt are doing that? How come Midtjylland are doing this? Is what we're talking about, is why they're doing this, why they're at the height where they are and doing so well for their kind of standing in Europe, league, whatever you want to call it, because they're set up well. Many times did I talk about when we were playing these teams in Europe, and I'd be going on about they're a well organised, well drilled team, because that's what all these like the Scandinavian teams will be like.
Yeah.
And that just again, it just runs through the club, no matter where you play them. Last year, next year, 2 year time, you'll still be playing against the same kind of team. You get what I mean? The same outlook, big physical presences that'll batter you, but they've got a good bit of footballing ability about them.
Yeah, big time. As I said, Mark, if Celtic played Michelin in 2 years' time, they'd still play. I imagine they'd still play with the same pace, the same intensity, the same everything. I'd say those Celtic players after that match here, and I couldn't wait for the final whistle. I was only watching it because they were torn apart from top to bottom. The defenders must have wished that the game finished at half time. The midfielders must have wished the same. The forwards must have wished the same for Celtic, because that Michelin team, their touch, it was quick, it was fast, it was all one-touch football, guys running all over the place. They seemed to have space all over the pitch. And you can't imagine they're gonna change from that. The same way like that time when it'll always haunt you about Bodo Glimt, where they came to Parkhead and they tore Celtic apart under Postecoglou. They absolutely tore us apart that night. We were all.
That still haunts me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They were close season and they kicked a ball for months and nothing. Do you know what I mean? They were away partying 2 weeks before it, and then they came and pumped us. I would have bet my house on us beating them too.
But if you see where they've gone from there, Mark, this is a team that's qualified Champions League. They were in, I think, the Europa League semi-final. They've kept so it's not a fluke. It's not a fluke, though. You know what I mean? For me, I'd love to see Celtic to try and learn from those clubs, because you know, that's if Celtic could learn anything from those clubs, is to see what way they do set up and what way they do behind the scenes. Now I'm saying how they do it, because it's working. It's working for those three clubs, and you know, until Celtic get something in place, I don't know. I think the likes of Europe is so far away from them. They really do.
Oh, aye. But I mean, see, when we're even talking about these teams, right? And we're talking about Bruges earlier, with like 19-year-olds and stuff like that. Even in Scotland, I mean, right? I mean, I know Dane Murray had a like bad injury and he was out for a long time and stuff, but it's like, see if you're at Motherwell, see if you're a decent player at Motherwell, you're 20-year-old and you've played 100 games in the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? If you're do you know what I mean? If you're 19-year-old, you've played 50 games for Kilmarnock or something like that, and itself, that's where we again. There's we're going about the pathway into the first team. It's a big jump for an 18-year-old, 19-year-old to be playing, even for your Motherwell or something like that, to come and play for Celtic, unless they're really, really exceptional. But these players are still out there grinding and working their arse off every week and becoming better players playing at that level. Do you know what I mean? Like we're saying there, Bruges, they've got I think it's their second teams in the second or third division or something like that. So they're playing good levels of competitive football. So even at that, they're coming up at 19, and it's maybe a wee bit of a step up, but it's not that great a step up that they're left miles out. So they start playing in the league, the top league, and that progresses them even more. And we've no Celtic. I mean, we're still looking at Dane Murray as like a youngster. He's 22 or 23.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I mean,
but Paul made a great point, though. Paul made a great point there when I was listening to you there on Monday night after I went off, and he made a great point as to if the Celtic B team were even if they were in the first division in Irish football, even if they were over there playing in the first division of Irish football and they were playing against Rays and Drogheda and Limerick and Cork and whoever it was, or even in whatever division, and if they got promoted, they could get promoted, but obviously they couldn't win the Irish League, whatever way you want to put it. But that would be 10 times better for them than what's going on now at the minute, and it wouldn't be that much of a step up. That Michelin crowd just beat Shamrock Rovers,
right.
They just about beat Shamrock Rovers. So,
just to take you before, tell us about Johnny Kenny when he was scoring goals on Ireland. There's no that great a jump for the Irish League to playing against your St Johnstones, your Kilmarnocks, your Motherwells.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Apart from maybe like the Huns, Aberdeen on their day. Do you know what I mean? Hearts knew that they've got a few decent. Do you know what I mean? But apart from that, there's no that great a difference between your run-of-the-mill teams that are in the League of Ireland and they're here in Scotland. There definitely isn't.
No, there isn't. If you put Shamrock Rovers, I don't have much in the white, but someone like Dundalk or Derry, probably there would one of those teams, but certainly Shamrock Rovers in the Scottish Premier League. It wouldn't surprise me if they finished third or fourth or fifth. Third or fourth. It wouldn't surprise me one bit, because they're a really well run establishment, and you know this is a team that have probably they're nearly all full-time professionals. I'd say they're very close to it, and this is a team that's playing the Conference League. You know what I mean? They were nearly qualified for the Europa League. You know what I mean? There's teams in Scotland that are getting knocked out by, with the greatest respect, and I don't mean it in a rude way, by Welsh teams. You know, they're not qualifying for conference things, and they're losing out to teams from back and beyond. I know Celtic did as well, by the way, so before anyone says anything. But I'm saying in the general run of mill of things, it generally happens in Scotland a lot, where if Kilmarnock are in the knockout in Europe, or whoever it is, St Johnstone, even Hearts over their time, Hibs, they're all losing out at the first round stages. You know? So, there's definitely not a big goal. So I think it was a great show by Paul. If Celtic again,
I don't think we'd maybe be allowed to put a team in it, would we? or even
But,
take
but
a
why not?
tour as such.
But why not though? Why not? I don't like. The argument you could have. I understand where people say, well, it's in Ireland, yeah. But Wrexham and Swansea and Cardiff play in England. What's the difference? They're Welsh. Like I know people say, well, blah 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 blah. Fair enough.
No, that gets back to us to, but see when when the English FA was formed and all that, the Welsh, there was no league or anything for them to play in.
Okay.
That's the only reason. See, no, there wouldn't be allowed. You know what I mean? A Welsh team wouldn't be allowed to do that. But at the time back in the day, when you were a laddie, about the 1870s or something like that, JFP was your Johnny at school. No, but it was that's the reason, because I always questioned that as well. But
Yeah.
why Celtic couldn't just like moved into England for that? That was the kind of dream when you were younger, which I wouldn't want now. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah. But is there any way that the Celtic B team could not participate in an Irish league, or even in the Scottish, even in the English under 21 league or something like that? Is there, like, surely the powers to be at Celtic should be looking to investigate this, because they've obviously sacked off the reserve league, even though there's a semi-reserve league going on there. But like, surely the powers to be at Celtic will realise that either develop this or scrap the underage system altogether. I know that sounds a very, very drastic statement to make, but like, there's nothing coming through. Like,
exactly, it's serving the purpose terms. I totally agree with you.
There's no one coming through.
Really, what is it? I mean, did the B team not get beat with? Was it Clyde or Clydebank or something like that?
Clydebank 4-0. Kieran was saying it, wasn't it? Kieran, that's his name, Kieran.
Aye. I mean, that's ridiculous. I could put John terms. These names, man. I could put a team together, guys that would beat Clydebank. I know enough decent football players that would probably be able to beat Clydebank.
Oh yeah, listen, I'm not doubting that, but this is
that shows you the level,
It's the standard that these guys are at. Like.
Aye, but that shows you how bad that is, that our B teams getting beat with teams like Clydebank.
Yeah, and so like the argument would be is like, if everything is so bad down there, do you try and redevelop it, try get it better, or do you be the drastic one and go, well, get rid of it? Because
I'd get rid of it. I would make it terms. I would make it part of the rules that if you're playing in the Scottish Premier League, you need to have a reserve team.
Oh, I fully agree with that. I fully agree with that. Like, I've said it before.
A proper reserve team.
Well, listen, it makes. Said Mark, I've said this to you and I agreed with you on this. It makes no sense not to have one. It never did make any sense to have one. Not have one, I should say. With injured players coming back, they get game time. Developing young guys, they get proper game time. The step up between the reserve league and the first team is there. It's a smaller jump. Yes, you find the game is probably a bit faster or a few other aspects, but you're a lot more up to speed with it. Other than that, it's a waste. Other than that, if you don't have that, it's a waste of time asking guys to go and play just a game against the local lads down the road. Like, it's pointless.
And see if you've got a proper reserve league like that, Terence, our young players, like, maybe I'm talking about like the Motherwell young guys are maybe in the team at 18, 19. Right, a year later, we can put him, our like 19 to 20-year-old in. He's like, I can't mind you playing him. And do you get that? And that there's that kind of, even across the game in Scotland, like, there's a generation of players like growing up throughout the game, not just at Celtic, but across the board.
Mr. Mark, couldn't they have it like? Well, I remember the reserve league in Scotland, and like there was a trophy. So there was a trophy for the winner. No, it was a serious thing. Like, whoever won the reserve league, there was a winner. There was medals and trophies, and there was probably even cup competitions. But there was certainly even the league system. There was like, if you won the reserve league, it was you got presented with prizes and trophies and the whole lot. Whereas what's going on now is it's beyond farcical. Like.
The poppy policy out in force. Fuck. Every year we going about this, innit, Terence? This poppy stuff and all.
Oh, I know, yeah, but sure, listen.
Aye. A lot of gas. It should never be in football stadiums. Take that thing.
I don't know, as I said, it's they've kind of added onto it. You know what I mean? A lot more than they probably should have. You know,
exactly. That's
where the problem is.
That's everybody I know's argument about it, Terence.
You know, that's the big problem. Like, you know, rather than what it was originally for, as opposed to what it is for now. That's the problem.
I seen the Huns stopped in the motorway to do their minute silence thing at the side of the road today. I know. I mean, what's that up? But they made sure they had photos on their social media. That's what it was. Attention-seeking shite.
Oh, listen, a lot of it's attention seeking. That nonsense is attention seeking. Listen, at the end of the day, as I said before, and I was talking to someone there the other day about it and working. Everyone's if anyone wants to wear those poppies, they can wear them, and all the rest of it. No issue with any of that. But my point was, it was originally brought in for the 2 World Wars, without getting too political here now. But it was originally brought in for the 2 World Wars. That's where the poppy seed. That's where the poppy flower originated in the field of France. When the war ended and all the ground had been blown up, the poppy seed was brought up to the top of the surface.
Wendy Blackadder. Yeah, that's one of the things I've always can mean if I was younger. Wendy Blackadder when it happened.
Yeah, it germinated, and obviously when the war finished, all the fields were poppies. So hence I understand the flower dedicated to the men and women and the people on both sides of the war. That type that died in those 2 wars that were horrific. But the problem is they then someone decided in the powers to be to include everyone in certain areas, and it just rubbed people up the wrong way because it's taken something into that it wasn't originally meant for. That's the problem. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, that's the problem.
Well, I've said my mum's family in the army and that, and that's what they chose to do that. But I mean, my wife Jack's her die gets sent. He gets sent to war. That's the thing that turns you. They seen the 2 World Wars. I'm not going to harp on about this because it was great because we've been over this for years and it blows the arse off me. But the young boys get sent to war. They no choice in it. You either give away to shoot the Germans or you get fucked in the jail. Do you know what I mean? That was the choice they had. But anything after that, But it was a money-making scam. It really was. That's what it became. And when all the World War I and World War II veterans died, they couldn't collect money for them anymore because they were all dying. So they need to collect money for something. They need to keep the money rolling in. And then you've got pictures, look at this ex-serviceman lying sleeping rough in the streets and stuff like that. Well, where's all the poppy money going? And what did they do with their wages when they were in the army? They were getting paid for it. That's the thing that gets me. You sign up to get shot at terms, you're getting paid for it. That's on you. See, if you do get shot, you get your legs blew off. That's on you. I've got one good leg because of a work accident. Nobody's collecting money from me. Do you know what I mean? Every year.
Yeah. No, I hear you, Mark.
That's my take on it. If you want to wear a poppy, wear one. See if you don't. If you're at a football game and there's a minute's silence, see if you want to boo it. See if you don't. Just to respect the minute's silence. Don't force anything on anybody else. It should be a personal thing. It shouldn't be a collective show. Oh, look at me. Look how sad I'm about soldiers and shit like that.
Oh, listen, Mark, I'm not disputing a single thing that you said there, and that's it. The problem is, it's not a kind of freedom of speech, so to speak, or freedom of action, or whatever we want to put it. It's basically if you don't do it, if you're seen not to do it, you're X, Y, and Z. So look, everyone to their own, but everyone's going to have their own different opinions and all that.
Did you watch? Did I send you that video? Did you watch it on the forum of that video about how it all started, like sliding its way into the football side of things?
No, I don't think so. I don't think.
I'll dig it up. I'll stick it on the comment section even on here so people can see it, because it was all right. Was it not even Leicester for the first team to do it, and the Daily Mail jumped on it, and then they started pestering all the Premier League teams to do it.
Okay,
that's how it wound its way into football terms, basically. I'm sure it was Leicester done it first, and then the Daily Mail twigged onto it, and there was a couple of them. Man United were one of them, held out to the very kind of as long as they could, but it just became this is what became normal, and then it became worse and worse. And it's really interesting. It really is.
Yeah, you do. I'll have a look at that. Look, it's one of those. It's one of those subjects that, you could argue. Well, you could discuss forever. But as I said, I'd be the same as you. If you want to wear one, wear one. If you don't. Everyone's. It's like it's everyone's choice. You know what I mean?
I can moan about it all night. Do you know what I mean? So we'll just jump on. International break again turns to with a new manager by the end of it.
I hope so. And it's actually, normally I would be disappointed with an international break, but I think the way Celtic have fallen with injuries, it's not a bad time to have an international break for Celtic, because I know some of the players still won't be back, but at least you're not basically, running the other players that are left at risk. At least you can give everyone as much time to recover as best as possible, because they have to be very thin on the ground at this stage, the Celtic players, because a lot of injuries. We're now down to two. We have two right backs, but we've one kind of left back in Tierney, who's it's not Tierney of old at all. So I think the international break is good to see.
I'm quite. I've not changed my opinion on. I still think signing KT was a massive risk, but he was playing shite at the start of the season terms. But give me his due. Cracking goal of the day. Last few games when he's played I thought he has played well.
He's a good footballer, Mark. But again, he's a very good footballer. But the problem with it, the first few games in particular, is the guy just wasn't fit, which is the common theme for most of the Celtic players. He wasn't fit, and he's been injured for so long. It's the expectation is there as well, Mark, that you got the Kieran Tierney of old. And that's the image in a lot of Celtic fans' heads. Oh, I remember Tierney, he'd do this, this, and this. That's not the Kieran Tierney that's there now. He's an excellent player. Look, and he has, like you said, he's got a lot better.
And again, is it down to the training and Rodgers? Because for Martin O'Neill came in, is it no the end that Tierney started picking up a bit, or am I just hoping that's the case?
No, it's not. It's not, Mark. It is 100% down to the. It is. I said it is 100% down to Rodgers. The injuries that the team are bearing, the problems that the team have had, are 100% down to Rodgers and his coaching staff and all those bodies that were involved with him there. The state that Celtic are in at the minute, regardless of the transfers and all the rest of the stuff that people may go on about, the current crop of players that were there and the injuries that are there and all the other stuff that went with it is down to Rodgers. It's plain and simple. That's my opinion on it anyway. And that's no one's going to change my. No, everyone has their own opinion and they can argue it, and that's fine. But this is my one, and I feel very strongly about it, because players like the Celtic players that have dropped in nearly every game, they're dropping for a reason. That their bodies just aren't able to play the level of intensity that they're at now, and they should be. And the only reason they're not is because they're not fit enough. And why are they not fit enough? Because the previous regime and manager and coaching staff didn't have them fit enough. Simple as that.
No, because even at that terms, because it's come in right, is that maybe down to the sports science department? But
it's out to the whole lot. It's out to the whole lot, Mark.
But see, in that terms, the sports science department can be giving reports to the manager, Brendan Rodgers. It doesn't mean he's got to take him into account. Do you know what I mean? If Brendan Rodgers gets a memo or whatever, do you know what I mean, about a report that so-and-so, or his results, he's testing on it, they're showing up he's a bit of a risk for injury, because that's the kind of way they do this with stuff, do you know what I mean? And has Rodgers just ignored this advice?
Well, he probably has, Mark, but at the same time, he's got a young lad running around the pitch by himself, like.
I know. It seemed I mean, the young boy came out his mouth. I heard it live on the telly, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, that's some way.
That's some arrogance. That's some arrogance by a guy to do that, like.
To treat any player that way, John, unless they've done something seriously wrong, he gets to get hunted, which is acceptable. It happens all the time if they're breaking up squad spirit, stuff like that. But for us to chase this young boy, get me signed for Fulham, right? We knew all the Fulham fans all said he was a player, right? Nobody, I knew nothing about him. I just, do you know what I mean? Looked about, read about stuff like that, and they all said, "Oh, wish we could have got him tied down, or at least get decent money for him." And then he vanished off the face of the earth when he got to Celtic, and then the next time you see him, you're like, what is this? That's no way to treat any football player. Never mind a young player you've just brought up from London, away from his family and stuff. Do you know what I mean? You'd at least have him part of the squad to have a wee air and room him and let him feel a bit more involved as a whole in the club, rather than say, right, away and run over there. You say that to the village idiot to get him out of your road. Do you know what I mean? Away run up there and time you.
Yeah, but Mark, that's the arrogance of the man that was the manager. His arrogance was, I didn't sign you. As far as I'm concerned, you can run over there. You're nothing to do with me.
How would you feel if that was your boy, Kerr?
You'd lose it. You'd lose it. You'd absolutely. You'd find a way. You'd be onto his agent to go, find a way to get my son out of there. Just find a way to get him out of there as soon as possible. If we have to pay off money, we'll pay off money, but get him out of there.
Because that's been, I mean, fair dues. That's, for me, that's down to the Tisdale department. Do you know what I mean with signed Osmond? Right? So, we've sweet-talked this guy, right, talking about it as if you already did boy's father. We've been sweet-talked, signed for Celtic, one of the biggest clubs in the world, blah, 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 blah. You'll get, and then Champions League, win medals, blah, blah. And 2-3 months later, how'd you go on you're phoning your boy for London, how'd you go on the day? So now I've just run up and down like a nutter all day.
Yeah.
What were you doing? I just run up and down. Do you know what I mean?
It's hugely disrespectful, Mark.
Like one of the Waynes that used to put their Jake on back to front at school and just run about daft kidding on with a helicopter.
But like, how the manager couldn't even include him in training? He doesn't have to be involved in this match day squad or match day anything. But have to, like, there's probably 40 guys training. You're like, how can you be so cold-hearted and so arrogant that a guy who's been transferred up from Fulham and who's apparently a good prospect, and listen, let's be fair, the games he's played for Celtic, he's looked decent. When he's come on, he's with it. Like, and how could you let him just run around and train by himself? The embarrassment that young man must have taken on board at the time, to have to do that, and the courage to have to do it as well every day by himself. Like, you must go home every day and just be depressed.
I mean, we've all been there when we're younger terms. You get here, go and do that, and you sit there for 4 or 5 years, spin it out your wig, thinking, can I just chuck this job and get home? We've odd jobs like that, but
yeah.
I've been that young boy getting a chance to play for Celtic, and what you doing, just running.
It was shocking. It was shocking on the manager, but again, like, that's more of it, that it was like, he's not my signing, I didn't sign him, there's obviously tension there before all this occurred, blah, 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 whatever. He can run around there for all I care, he can do whatever he wants, he's not going to be involved in my team. I have no striker, I have no centre back, I have no right back. Funny that, isn't it? All of a sudden Martin O'Neill comes in and you have Trusty and you have Pussy and you have Sriracha and you have Kenny and you. It's funny. A lot of these guys that weren't apparently there when you were there are suddenly already there. Really funny that.
I mean, is Inamura going to get another pop?
It's hard to say, Mark. It's hard to say because, in fairness to O'Neill, he has so far. He's given guys who go. Okay, Shin hasn't, obviously, or Amura hasn't, but whether they're doing it in training, I don't know.
But we hot sauce out the team. But then, well, I hope it's. I've not heard anything how bad that is. Hopefully, it's no long term. But with hot sauce Karachi out the team, that's us only left with KT there. So, as in, which again, in Amura, he done all right in pre-season, playing at left back, right? Although his natural position's a centre back, but again, turns you're getting back to the quality of the opposition in Scotland. But
yeah,
that's is Inamura good enough to play against your Kilmarnock the day if it needed to be? Do you know what I mean?
Yes, 100%.
You're not trusting Inamura in Europe unless it's an absolute necessity and you need to play him, right. You're not picking him. But in certain games in Scotland, you've got to give these guys game time where do you think they can do a job. Just if you're good enough to play, because you see if you're good enough to play in the Japanese league, you should be up to the standard to play against certain teams in Scotland till you get better, to progress. Do you know what I mean? What we're saying here about the Irish league terms.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm not comparing the Irish league to the Japanese league. I'm just talking about coming into another league. Anywhere in the world you've got, if that's your level, well, that's your level. We're not picking you for the derby games. We're not picking you when we're away to Hearts or Hibs or that. But see, we're at home to Kilmarnock, we're at home to St Mirren or any of these kind of teams that are usually in possession, controlling the game. You'll get game time. But that's what they need to do with these players.
No, listen, as I said, the Uruguayan lad that came in, Sirachi, like, most people would have said, oh, yeah, KT's nailed on. His first choice, your man's going to be his backup now for the season if we need him, blah, 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 blah. You'd probably say at the minute it's probably roles reversed. I know he's injured, but you'd probably say Sirachi is first and Tierney's his backup. That would be my take on it. Again, everyone is different, but
he showed better after KT, but again, I give KT credit for coming on again. But Scratchy's been better than him for me.
Yeah, whereas hopefully, obviously, that Iramura now, he might have to come in and because Tierney's now got up to speed and he seems to be able to last the 90 minutes, whereas previously he wasn't. But you're still going to need cover there because he's likely to. If you need to take him off, you're going to have to take him off. And you don't want to have to do something like, not that they're going to do it, but put Scales to left back to put someone into centre back. That's just completely chop and change in the team. You want to leave the centre backs where they are. So it would make sense that hopefully he's now included, and it probably might get game time. If he's not included, Mark, and there's a young lad included, then he's really out of the reckoning.
Anybody in the chat know if they got any young left backs that could make a step up?
Yeah,
we've got Donovan. We Donovan at right back. Is there anybody in the youth setup of that could do a job at left back?
Was there a guy in the pre-season? I know, probably completely wrong. It's probably just making us up. His name was like Mark McPherson or McPherson or something like that. I thought it was. No, maybe he was a right back as well. So I could be just talking nonsense. Which is probably right.
Some deal know anyway, but
yeah.
I hope Karachi's injury's not that bad.
But the problem is, if it's a hamstring, Mark, you're still looking at a few weeks. You know what I mean? Now, luckily, he probably pulled up early, but it's madness that every injury they've had so far has been a hamstring. Every injury.
Aye,
it's crazy. Anyway, just on another topic, who's your? Do you think there's, like you said to me, do you think there's going to be a new manager after the international window? And if so, who do you think he's going to be?
Honestly, Terence, man, I've not got a clue. I've no. There's just
he's going to be there.
No, well, see if Martin O'Neill's still in charge after the international break, that's pushing me towards me that it's going to be maybe like that Knutson. Right?
Yeah.
Henke keeps changing his name, right? Wicklow Caesar, right? He's been on the Discord and he's been on about that Bovril Nancy for weeks, saying that it's going to be him.
From America.
Aye. Me personally, I would want Kieran McKenna. That's who I would go for.
Ipswich guy.
Aye.
Well, that would make sense then. If you hear that O'Neill is there till the end of the season, I'm assuming they'll come out before Christmas or something to say he's staying on, he's not staying on, blah blah blah. I think if you hear that he's staying on till the end of the season, I think that would automatically rule out Luxon, and then obviously it might point more towards a McKenna. Whereas, said if we'll find out after the window, like to be honest, either of those two guys on paper and what they're doing would look good. They seem to have a nice way of trying to play football, you know.
McKenna's for me turns like what I was talking about managers step him up a level.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You're right, he's done it with Ipswich, you go to them promote it. Fair dues, you get relegated, but I mean they're Ipswich, right? They're right, and I don't even think they're doing that well this season, but so his next level is, I mean, he's turned down jobs, but it's like, see if you're trying to build a career, you can jump on the managerial roundabout and just get sacked for one team in England, move to another. Do you know what I mean? Like Moyes, guys, Sam Allardyce years ago, they dig these jobs up. But if McKenna's trying to build up his reputation and become a serious manager, he's still at a young age. And then, I mean, you look at that Potter, do you know what I mean? It went to Chelsea and jiggered his career basically. So for me, McKenna, it's like at his age, come up to Celtic, show that you're a good manager, good coach. You're there, you've got a chance to win trophies, you've got the chance to hopefully manage in the Champions League, and then you'll be offered a good job in England. Do you know what I mean? No somebody just throwing you a bit of fish. You can, right, we'll sack you after 7 months if the results aren't going right, but we'll give you £30 million to pay you off. Do you know what I mean? I think for me it's just that kind of fit. I don't mind. I mean, I've said it before. I don't mind players coming in and using Celtic as a stepping stone. So I don't mind managers doing the same thing.
Yeah, no. Well, listen,
even doing the job. Aye, I mean, I don't think Ange made the right choice going to Spurs because it was an absolute basket case of a club and has been for years. But to the same thing, I don't mind them coming in here using Celtic to get spotted in England. I wouldn't mind McKenna coming up here to get spotted after 3 years and took to, I don't know.
Would you have taken Postecoglou back?
One of the English boys asked me, one of the English heads asked me about that the other week, and I said, aye, in my heart, but then the first European game when we get pumped again about, here we go again, he's not learned anything.
I think the board were never going to take. I think the board were never going to consider him, to be honest.
No, I don't think he was ever in any. I don't even think the question was asked. Is that even here? Would you get back? I don't think there was any doubt yet. I mean, he's moved on. Celtic's moved on, so no. But I mean, we're all a wee bit misty-eyed about it, kind of thing. We know how good it was, the good times, but when you think about it and break it down, there was still a few bad times, and I don't think Postecoglou really learned. I don't think he's really learnt much. He's been at Celtic and moved on. I think it would still be the same. He's not. Do you know what I mean? I think it would still be that same kind of. We'll try and score more goals than them, but if we don't, that's just hard luck.
Yeah, I hear you. And I think the way he left Celtic anyway, the board wouldn't want him back. Not that I'm saying I didn't want him back. No, I'm saying the board, because you hear rumours even at the cup final that they allegedly didn't want him leading out the team and all that. I don't know how true that is, but because obviously it was done and dusted that he was going to Spurs before the cup final. So, you know, I'd say even if he was in a sense available, I still don't think the powers to be would have gone for him.
Nah.
I think too much bad blood there.
I mean, we've got to, just to wind it up, man, for just doing a year after the game. We've only an hour and a half just to stay, but even getting back onto that, when we're talking about, like, the manager situation, we're coming up to the AGM, and there's still talk if Peter will going to resign or be voted off, kind of binned, if you want to call it that. Right, there's still the talk about yourself, which we're not getting into. That's nothing to do with us. If that comes out, it comes out. No gossip about anybody's health that way. and that's like that. The Whelan, that woman Whelan taking out a CEO and stuff like that, and we've not heard much about that. But again, is that party? Do you think an overall? If see before this comes off, all the gossip, all the rumours and everything, before this comes off, it's true, right? Suppose we would replace Peter Lyle with Wally Hockey. Suppose we replace Michael Nicholson. He's meant to have a job lined up at UEFA.
Yeah.
That the Herfey Leicester, that Carol Whelan, who's supposedly one of Dermot Desmond's wife's best pals.
Yeah, you were saying that. Yeah.
Aye, right. I mean, I think for what she done for Leicester, I'd be quite happy with that. I really would, for like even a background kind of thing. But would that be enough to quell the kind of unrest between the support?
I think it would help, Mark. I think it would help because you're getting to an extent, you're getting one of the main individuals who has been fantastic for Celtic, let me just say, in Peter Lawwell, away from that area where basically people have been saying that it's the same old cronies for the last 20 years or whatever it may be, and you need fresh blood. Well, if you did have that lady come in as CEO, and you did have Lawwell leaving as well, and that Willie High guy coming in, and if there was a change in slight change in the board structure, that was one or two different executives coming in.
And but then telling she saw it kick on to, well, they've moved that Stevie Hamill. You saw it kicking on to the football department. Do you know what I mean? Like bringing in a field, and then a new manager, signing quality players early in the window and stuff like. If Dermot Desmond done a total revamp of Celtic across the board, would the fans be happy enough with that?
Well, you'd have to, Mark, because if you called for change, and you called for, say, Michael Nichols and Peter Lawwell and Chris Mackay and whoever else they may be, the individuals in question, you think that they're not, fit for purpose, as people would have called them, and it needs to be changed, and it's too dinosaurish again. And then if you do that, and you do bring in a new CEO, and you do bring in a new chief executive, and there is a change at certain levels, and there's a change in structure within the youth system, that there's Stevie Hamill's come in and a few other things, then you have to say, well, look, we argued this point. We felt these people weren't right in the positions they're in. They're no longer in these positions. You now have to give the new people the opportunity to prove that they are right for those positions. Because you can't say that you didn't get what you wanted if those positions are changed. If that makes any sense.
Oh, aye. Terence, you've probably explained that better than I did. I mean, talking about Dermot Desmond, an absent landlord, right? But if he's leaving the right people in charge to run things, nobody's got a problem with that.
Yeah.
And it's like what we're talking about. It's like if Ken said, if we recruit new board members, we would just get yes men for Dermot. But we've got non-executive directors. That's their job, is to hold the board to account. And they people have been in place for too long.
I know, but this lady, if she is coming in, the former Leicester CEO, as the CEO, with the greatest respect, that lady, she may be friends with Dermot Desmond's wife, but if that's the case, but she's clearly not a yes lady. No. She was running Leicester Football Club and done a very good job under a lot of pressure by the end of it. So I don't think individuals will come in and just go, they know what they're coming into. They realise the powers to be, if there's a new chairman and a new chief executive and a new other position coming in, like you'd want to be living on the moon if you're a football person, not to realise the issues that have been going on in Celtic for the last, certainly this season, and if not last season, with protests and everything else. So a new CEO coming in, a new chief executive coming in, they understand there needs to be a changing of the guard, and people also need to give them time, like a player, to set their stall out and allow them to go, this is the way I operate. This is the way we'll do it. This is the way I see Celtic going forward. And as supporters and fans, you've got to give them time to implement their systems as well. Like.
I mean, let's face it. Going with what we've kind of read over the summer, our reputations are a bit in the dirt when it comes to player negotiations. No, I mean, it seems to be. I mean, I've said this for years as well, Terence. When it comes to selling players, Celtic drive one of the hardest bargains in the world. And Peter will always note that across the footballing world is one of the hardest negotiators to get fees for players. You know what I mean? I've heard that from guys. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, this woman coming in, she's got right away. She's got respect, bringing a bit of respect back in. She's got kudos across Europe, across the world, because she's worked, obviously, a CEO in the public. Do you know what I mean? So she's at least dragging some of that back, and we'll be able to say to people, no, wait a minute, that what went on before doesn't matter. I'm in charge now. You speak to me. I've always been fair. I've always been. Do you know what I mean? And that's the kind of thing, because it's not just with the fans. It's across the board across the football world, with the way the transfer window went. Everybody is like they're a basket case behind the scenes.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying the individuals coming in.
Bobby, get him out of here, this 66 guy. Kick him.
Right, what's he saying?
I'm not even. Just let it go in. But do you know what I mean? Bringing in somebody like that, Terence, immediately you're up your game.
She's
got a
question mark.
Aye.
Was she CEO when Leicester won the Premier League?
Aye.
Well, you know, this is someone that, that's won, has managed a club when they've been when they won the Premier League. You know what I mean? This is someone that's dealt at the top table, so to speak, regardless of what people might say or not say. So I mean, this is a lady that is obviously well versed in her job, well versed in her qualifications, knows exactly what she's doing when it comes to running a football club, has her own, I imagine, philosophies and basically theories on how to run a football club, knows what people she wants around her to run a football club. So, like, I mean, if she's coming in and she's the right person for Celtic, and she's coming in with that mentality and that directness, then I look forward to it, and hopefully it is. And again, as a supporter, if the changes are made that Michael Nichols is gone, Peter Lawwell is gone, and if there is other changes in the board level, then people have got what they've wanted, and fair enough. But you've got to also give these people then time to implement it. The same way we have to say you have to give players time to bid in. That's what I would be saying.
I mean, it's like, see, like this with the Celtic Collective. A party, so we all get about changes updates, not right. And I've said this before, right? I've said it to JFP too. See the idea of getting rid of Dermot Desmond. We need to forget that. We need to forget the idea of somehow forcing, because that's the long game. What we need to try and do is force Dermot Desmond to make changes. That's all we want. But I've got individual problems with Dermot Desmond. What he could have done, what he should have done, blah blah blah. But we've still won a hell of a lot of trophies and some right good times in the last 25 years. Do you know what I mean? But
yeah,
again, it's like when the Huns laughed him at Hampden, he went a bit pet at lip and stamped his foot. Do you know what I mean? And went and get Rodgers in. So now I think at a time like that, but it's beyond the manager. I don't think appointing just a good manager now is going to, do you know what I mean? Or even a box office manager or one of the fans' favourite for the job or that. I don't think that's enough. It won't be for me, because the same problems behind the scenes will still be there. Dermot Desmond's get the chance now to hit the reset button and reset the full club and modernise it.
I actually think, Mark, I know this is going to sound really probably a silly statement, but I'm going to make it. I'm going to say it anyway. I think it's more important that Dermot Desmond sorts out the top table than necessarily getting in the big marquee manager.
Aye, definitely. That's what I'm saying to you. Aye, that's what I mean.
If the structure up there is right, then you get in it doesn't have to be a marquee manager. If you get in a decent manager, and all of a sudden the connection point from top to bottom, so to speak, is spot on, then happy days. Then there's a good relationship between the management, the manager, the chief executive, the CEO, the whole lot, everyone across the board. It's a happy life. Then you just need to get in a good, solid manager, and away you go. So for me, I think it's more important that they get the top table bang on, and then ideally if they get in this lady in, it'll be great.
A pure reset for the top down. Right, Dermot's always obviously still at the top, right? But below him, run the board, right? Get rid of Lowell, get rid of Nicholson, refresh the non-execs that are meant to supposedly keep the board in check and make sure they're running everything well. Get all that sorted, and everything else should just fall into place.
Yeah, but if anyone thinks if this lady from Leicester, the CEO from Leicester, comes in and is just going to be like, just like agree with all the boys and that have been there all along and do next Wednesday, I can't see that. Not if this lady's been in this game for as long as she's been in it.
No, because if she's, I don't, because it was kind of a bit strange that she kind of left Leicester. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't expected. It's a bit sudden. So maybe that's fed the kind of rumours that she's coming to Celtic. But if she's left Leicester to get that Celtic job, she's not coming in just to be I'm Dermot Desmond's wife's pal. I'll get a good wage off of Celtic for doing nothing. She'll be being brought in because of her capabilities to change things in which she can actually do as a professional.
Aye, 100%. I fully agree with you.
And again, that's what we need.
Big time.
Some fresh blood.
Fresh blood, fresh ideas, fresh everything.
Right, my wee angry Irish friend. We've got a night then.
We will indeed, bud. We will indeed.
Thanks very much for coming on terms. John, Paul, whatever. How many different names I called you tonight. Right, thanks very much, Ter. Right, that was a good wee blether there, wasn't it?
It was indeed, bud. It was indeed.
Right, everybody. Good night. I hope you enjoyed that. I don't know what we'll be doing with podcasts. We've been in an international break. No, what I'm trying to tell, a fun series of questions. Buzz sorted us out. I found them the other night, so we'll sort out a wee kind of quiz night one night, right, Ter?
Oh yeah, that'll be good, right?
We'll get the lads on. We'll sit with a blade and I'll fire out these mad questions that Buzz dug up for me, right?
Yeah, cool.
Right, everybody, thanks very much for joining us. Hope you enjoyed it. If you remember, hit the like button. If you know how, please leave a comment. And remember, for Food Bank Appeal, again, the link for it's in the description box below. If you can get anything to it, we've already raised £500. That's amazing. If you can get anything, please do. If you can, there's no hassles about it. Hail, lads. Good night and God bless.